SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
We have been discussing about the causes of decay of cultural property, and in the last lecture we have been discussing about the natural causes of decay. So, today we will continue with the man-made causes of decay, and as you can see is that this beautiful terracotta figurine, it actually has been destroyed by people and the visitors who have broken it and who have marked the things on there. So, this the insensitive nature and many other causes which can cause damage, and they can be listed as alteration and inappropriate repairs. Even if the intention is good, it may cause some far reaching problem, neglect, poor construction, vibration damage, atmospheric pollution, changes to groundwater level, and theft, vandalism and arson, wars and conflict, and tourism. So, we will take one by one, and briefly we will discuss with examples that what are these man-made causes of decay. One of the very prevalent cause of historic structure is that the use of wrong mortar. In most of the earlier structure, the lime mortar has been used, and when in such cases cement mortar is applied, what happens, cement is much stronger. So, as you can see that when the cement is much stronger, it causes the spalling of stone in a historic wall. So, the mortar has remained safe, but it has really caused the problem to that. Why it happens? So, you can see in this diagram that if there is a cement mortar and brick or stone, which are the porous building materials, the water would like to come out. We have discussed about the penetration of water. They would like to come out, it may be due to the rain or the rising dampness, they would like to come out through the pore, and generally what happens is that they would like to come out through the joints, and if the lime mortar is used, it is possible. In case of the cement mortar, it is much stronger and much more impervious. So, what happens is that they cannot come out through that. So, they try to come out through the evaporating and other thing, they would like to come out through the bricks, and in that process it causes the spalling of the bricks, and you can see that the mortar has remained safe. So, it is absolutely very important to use a mortar which is lesser strength than actually the building fabric, and this is a very common damage which happens because of the using a modern cement mortar to repoint the old walls. Sometimes the chemically injected damp proof courses, which are again sometimes of a stronger material or impervious material, it also can cause a problem. Application of water repellent covering to the extent, because a building fabric, the old historic walls, they have to breathe, and if it is not possible, then what happens is that it causes further damage to the historic fabric. And sometimes the modern emulsion paint also are used to cover it, or and then it causes further damage. I will talk about some of the examples here. There is a beautiful structure in Midnapur, which is actually a fort, which is Moynagar Fort. It is a very historic structure, it is protected by the West Bengal Heritage Commission. There are two sort of moats around the structure, and this beautiful temple here. Here it is not intentionally, because the owners are very concerned about the historic structure, they wanted to repair it, but because of the lack of knowledge of the craftsman or the artisan who sort of advised them, they used stronger material, emulsion paint and other to cover that, and it actually eventually which called further damage to the historic fabric, and they are covering with an impervious layer. This is another structure of a similar nature. It is again a beautiful structure owned by a private property. They have the resources, and they are beautiful sculptures which are there all over our epics and other. And what they did is that because there was a problem and they wanted to repair it and keep it in a well preserved state, they covered that and they asked the help of the craftsmen who were not aware of the proper restoration technique. So, they used the modern emulsion paint, and as you can see that this is falling off. So, a beautiful, which may look for a short time it may look good, colorful, well preserved, but in a long run it will cause further damage. You can see that it is falling off, and it is also bringing out the original material. So, these type of repair methods are very dangerous for the historic fabrics. The neglect is another thing. This is a beautiful school building in Kuch Bihar in northern Bengal, Jenkins School. As you can see, that is quite well preserved. It is used, this is the front portion, and they paint it regularly, but due to the neglect, as you can see that in this portion there is not proper, it is a flat roof structure, there is not proper drainage is happening on the flat roof, and actually eventually there are saplings which are growing up, and this is causing further damage to this structure, and it is also in a very precarious state. So, this type of neglect, what happened, the blocked, there is a very simple reasons which are very easy to take care of, like blocked rainwater goods or broken grills and plants growing in the gutters and walls. They encourage the moisture to penetrate the fabric, or also sometimes the slipped roofing tiles which can cause, which is very easy to repair, but due to neglect probably the rusting of the metal windows, exposed woodwork, algae and the fungal growths, which we have all discussed on the natural causes of decay, and excessive moisture inside the building, etc., etc. These are all due to the neglect which can be taken care of, as I told, very easily. This is another beautiful structure. These are all innumerable structures in our smaller towns or villages and other things. This is again a private property, a beautiful structure. As you can see that multifoil arch, and is a influence of the cross cultural influence. Again is a flat roof structure, and so you can see that there are plant growths or vegetative growth on the roof, and as a result what is happening is that some of the portions are very well preserved, like the decorations and others, as you can see a clear picture. But what is happened, because there is a not proper care has been taken to remove the vegetative growth, and there is a huge sort of a vegetative growth on the roof, and there is a water logging. So, it is actually causing a crack to the structure, and that is a very severe crack. I can see that, and this is just a minor problem which could have been tackled very easily. Just a regular maintenance policy is more than enough to take care of that, and these man-made causes of decay or the neglect is actually a very prevalent cause of damage to the many our historic structure. Another is the vibration damage. This vibration damage is one of the main factors for fatigue in structure. The vibration, even the slow vibration produced by different sources, propagate from one medium to another. It can be the continuous movement of the cars, or the heavy traffic, or it may be the railway lines which are causing there. So, long term exposure to that can cause damage and affect the cracks. There can be the minor damage also in critical cases, which can result in collapse, especially in the historic buildings. We will see that some of the examples, especially because when the historic structures are located in an urban area or even in distant area where railway lines, highways, or even nowadays the metro rails are happening, they have to, in many cases the damage, as you can see that heritage building falls due to Delhi's metro tunnel work, and this is irreparable damage, though I mean a lot of precautions are taken, I believe that by the authority, but these are problematic and the monitoring is required, and some of the cases if it is a very important structure, then probably we have to rethink about the we have to think about rerouting the thing, the course of that. You know that the metro digging for the metro corridors are very important, and it is happening in most of our city. This is the you see the metro railway work in Chennai. It has affected a 121-year-old Lutheran church, and you can see how the cracks have been developed, and the experts have been called, they are trying to sort of monitor the cracks, and these are the problems which probably if people are concerned about that, then precaution can be taken beforehand, or again I say in extreme cases even the realigning the corridors, the things is important. This is a very, because even in you can see that Mumbai Metro also, that tunneling work near the heritage building is really causing, because they go very close to the heritage structures. And so, as you say, that what is important here is not, we are not saying that the no development work can be done near there. What is important is the impact assessment through the proper expertise and precautions and others. So, to see the proper section, what is the foundation, what type of precaution should be taken or can be taken. So, you can see that there is a proper impact assessment to see actually where the tunneling is happened, where is the foundation of the structure, and what is the likely impact of that digging. And again, not only during the initial construction, one has to remember that there will be a regular vibration when the metro will start working there, and that can cause to the further damage. So, proper precaution has to be taken, proper monitoring, regular monitoring. There are many cases all over the world that the heritage buildings are there where the metro corridors or underground corridors are happening underneath the structure. It is possible, but one has to be very careful, proper expertise has to be sought, proper precaution has to be taken, and as I say, in extreme cases one can also rethink of realigning the corridors or the highways or the railway. And this brings us to the another thing, because it is not only the vibration done because of the traffic or because of the railways or heavy traffic, the atmospheric pollution which is caused either by traffic or many other factors are there, which also is a cause of a problem. Like you can see in this Buddha here, where the sandstone is entirely blackened and corroding from the acid rain. That acid rain is again another very important aspect which is happening nowadays because of the pollution. Then atmospheric pollutions can attack the stone, they can attack the brick, the roofing tiles and terracotta, mortars, renders, cement and concrete, glass, ferrous metals and non-ferrous metals. One has to also see that what is the proper alternative solution, what is the balance, what are the precautions one can take about that. Now, why does atmospheric pollution happen? What is this acid rain, which must understand? Natural weathering will cause stone to deteriorate over the many thousands of years and brick over several hundred years. So, as you can see that this is a small element from Assam, where you can see the weathering effect actually has this Durga idol, and which has been deteriorated because of weathering, and the pollution effect is a stone one, and this is accelerated by that. It can take many years, but it is accelerated by the oxide from the burning coal and oil and nitrogen from the vehicle exhaust. So, as I said that one can see that what are the mitigation measures one can take to sort of reduce the impact. Now, when these type of pollutants they combine with the moisture in the atmosphere, they produce a corrosive mixture, and definitely and most of the time they are typically sulfuric and the nitric acids, and these when come with the rain they cause the acid rain, and that when deposit on the surface of the historic structure they can cause problem. Now, one must understand is not that all types of material affected similarly by the acid rain. It depends on which type of material, what material. This also is important. As you can see, this is from Bhubaneswar, that it is made out of different types of stone and how the pollution has really affected. So, direct contact with the waste stone or pollutant particle can cause severe decay or the acid deposition, often more corrosive than the acid rain. And sometimes what happens is that the if 2 or 3 types of stones are used, and these are differently affected by the rain, and they can also have a different impact on the subsequent layers of stone. So, one has to be very aware and see or investigate very clearly what is the material and what type of pollutant is happening. One of the very well known cases, Taj Mahal, one very concerned about, all of us are very concerned about Taj Mahal, and because of the yielding of the Taj Mahal, because of this acid trend where the marble is getting affected. And recent US Indo study found that the dust and carbon containing particles are settling on Taj Mahal and causing discoloration, and a massive restoration was going on in the case of Taj Mahal to remove that discoloration. And in case of Taj Mahal, because it is a World Heritage Site, there were more stringent measures were taken. It's known now that the Mathura refinery and many other industrial development which is happening within the close vicinity of Taj Mahal, this is causing further damage. There are severe mitigation measures which can be, in this case it was stopped for some time, and the height of the chimney, the treating of the pollutant at the source. These are some of the measures which can be taken, but one must know that which are the cause of this deterioration and how to mitigate that. This is a sort of a picture that how the acid rain is forming, the gaseous pollutant in the air and the dry deposited particles, and these pollutants in cloud and other precipitates, and they sort of then they go from the various industry, the sulfuric acid, and these with the rain they come down and deposit on the surface, and they cause a corrosion of this beautiful movement. So, one must understand that what is the reason, what is the process, and what type of mitigation measures, as I say, the height of the chimney or totally removing those type of polluted industry from the close vicinity at a certain distance where it cannot cause this type of problem. Now, when we are talking about Taj Mahal, the biggest threat of Taj Mahal is not only the atmospheric pollution, for which certain mitigation measures have been already taken, but another threat is the unregulated number of visitors. Every day almost 50,000 visitors visit Taj Mahal. It is very popular site, and definitely we can't stop the visitors from coming, but recently there was a High Court ruling that only 30% per day of the visitors can. So, it is controlling the number of visitors, which is the visitors management, which is again is a very important part, because a constant trading wears down the marble floors, and they also we have a habit of touching the surface. So, the presence of visitors also increases the humidity inside the buildings, and the grease from their pumps cause deposition of the grime on the walls. Now, as I say, so this is also again some of the problems which is the visitors management one has to take care of. And so, tourism. This is one of the very challenging thing, especially in case of World Heritage Sites and other popular heritage sites, that the number of visitors and tourism, their behavior is becoming a threat to the heritage site, and especially the World Heritage Sites. This you can see Venice, which is very popular. Now, tourism development, as I say, this is you can see that how the gondolas, so many people are coming there, and we definitely can't say no, because it is also a source of economy for the for that place, and definitely people would like to come and see this beautiful place and historic places and historic structure. Now, in general, what has been found that the tourism development can have adverse impact on a place if it does not take account of the aesthetic, social and cultural dimensions, natural and cultural landscape, the biodiversity characteristics and broader visual context of the heritage places. Now, let us see what is this, because it suddenly goes out of the hand, is not cannot be controlled. Let us take you can there is an important a lot of important work being done on the tourism impact. So, I have given a reference, one can visit and see that what are the policy formulations can be done to mitigate that. Now, let us come back to Venice. As I said that Venice, as you can see in the tourist time, in the tourism season, that it is actually so crowded. And there is a quote, rapacious tourist monoculture threatened Venice existence. decimating the historic city and turning the Queen of the Adriatic into a Disneyland shopping mall, Disneyfied shopping mall. Now, what is this Disneyfied shopping mall vis-a-vis a historic site? So, a commodification of the heritage vis-a-vis the preservation of the heritage site and presenting it to the tourist is a very important debate which is going on, and it requires a lot of attention and policy decision. Let's in Venice, you can see that what is happening is that there is a cruise ship which is happening in the Venice, such a huge tourism which are coming and right up to the St. Mark's Square, Venice, and they have to come there. I mean, one cannot imagine that how this is happening, and this is what is really happening. This should not happen. There should be a control. There should be a carrying capacity, understanding that how to manage the tourism. It should not become a commodification of heritage on the historic sites, so that it becomes a stage show and, as he said rightly, the Disneyfied shopping mall. So, what is happening? It goes beyond a certain thing, like as we can see in Venice, the residents are protesting against the tourist influx. They are saying, tourists, go home. So, what happens, because when it goes beyond a certain control, what happens is that there is a rift between the local community, though I mean, as I say that they earn their income from that, but beyond a certain thing, it is also a living city. They can't take the tourism, and a lot of social problem happens due to that. So, what is we have to understand that sustainable tourism, that how to manage, what are the, to have a proper awareness for the visitors, the management control and other, so that it what is written here, enjoy, respect Venetia. It is not a Disneyfication, it is not a commodity that you can come and enjoy. There has to be some sort of a responsibility in the behavior. Why should a cruise ship should come into Venice, which has already had a problem of flooding and other thing? This is too much of greed and too much of pleasure loving thing, not respecting the conservation area leads to that. This is another major threat to the tourism area, which definitely can be tackled, managed with a proper management policy, awareness, promotion and integration of the local community. And it needs involvement from all the tourism promotion people, tourist people, tourism, the government, the local community and other. Another man-made cause of decay is the theft, vandalism and arson. You can see that this is an Ontario, a church. There was a discussion happening that there was a decision to destroy that church, demolish the church, and the local community holders were meeting the government to stop it, and that day they were meeting that, and that night it was put on fire. So, it is an arson, and it happens everywhere that in terms to give place to the new development, a lot of heritage structures are being demolished rather than looking into that what can be the other alternative solution. And as you see in Paris, that this is a very common sight in the heritage places or heritage structure, people feel like writing, use of graffiti and the other. This is a very, very irresponsible behavior, not showing proper respect to the historical and the heritage structure. It cannot be stopped only by policing or putting CCTV camera. It needs a lot of awareness and responsible action from the visitors and the visitors management. We have talked about wars, we have talked about Warsaw, we have talked about Coventry Cathedral, and we have also seen that how they were demolished in the Second World War, and how both of these cases and many more cases have sort of redefined their role and trying to come out and show a sort of a path towards peace. This we have discussed in detail, but has it stopped? No. You can see the Aleppo, Syria. The before image is a beautiful World Heritage Site, it's a beautiful city it was with a lot of heritage structure, and you can see that because of the civil war, after the war, that what has happened to that structure, and it is now a ghost town. It is written here in one of the news that Syria's 6 UNESCO World Heritage Sites all damaged or destroyed during the civil war, and this is, we are not going to get back them. Now, it is not only the war, we must understand that these heritage sites which are symbol of unity, peace, this also becomes a symbol of something to attack. And this is what we have recently seen in Palmyra, that located in the war torn Syria, which flourished as a Roman trading house fort AD 200. It was destroyed by the ISIS militant. It was purposely destroyed because it was sort of a, like we are saying, a symbolic value. So, it was a symbol of something which they destroyed, and this is something we must understand. And one of that type of symbol that where it was the Bamiyan Buddha. You probably know that how Bamiyan Buddha was destroyed by the Taliban. It took 26 days to demolish the Bamiyan Buddha. So, it is not only the war, it is the conflict and terrorism which is taking these heritage sites from ancient era as a symbol to attack. But what is the way ahead? Why we are going from this? Let us talk about Bamiyan Buddha. The Bamiyan Buddha actually was located on the Silk Road, and it was the tallest Buddhist structures. And in 70s, India government, Archaeological Survey of India, there was a sort of a understanding. They went there and helped to restore that, and it was restored. And it was actually a monastery. There were a lot of monks that time used to stay in the ancient time, and this Bamiyan Buddha, a really very sort of exemplary structure. There are a lot of documents which happened there. And this was attacked by, so it was built in 6th century. See, there are two Buddhas, they are small and other, and represented the classic of the Gandhara art, and which is quite unique. Now, what happened is that it has been demolished. It was taken as a symbol. Now, as I say, the conservation theory is a very dynamic approach. Now, one has to understand where we go from here, how do we restore that. So, now the international, because it is a World Heritage Site, now the international community is talking about what to do with the Bamiyan Buddha. So, let us see that we have talked about the Second World War, or what happened to Coventry Cathedral or Warsaw and other. Now, today we are in a different era, we have a different technology, and it is quite interesting to see that now Afghanistan government, with the international collaboration, a lot of countries with expertise are coming, including India, to talk about that what can happen to this Buddha. So, one is the anastylosis, process of anastylosis. Anastylosis is a process of reconstruction whereby ruined building materials or monument is restored using the original architectural elements to the greatest degree possible. Probably I do not remember, I talked about Konarak is a very good example where anastylosis happened, where the debris from the sites were taken and restored, put together. So, one of the options people are talking about is the restoration through anastylosis, because for the smaller Buddha, many of the debris are still there on the site. But as I say that we have come a long way, and now what is happening is the different technologies happening. So, virtual reality technologies are helping, there are a lot of work going on to actually reconstruct and help in reconstructing the Bamiyan Buddha, that to what degree it is happening. So, you are using the new technology to in the reconstruction process. So, should we go into anastylosis, should we sort of put together, or is there any other way of reinterpretation or rediscovering this Bamiyan Buddha, or bringing back not physically, but concept wise, what are the other ways. So, this is very interesting what is happening, that this is what is that this was the past. This is the past, what happened, and this is what is present. It's sort of a hollowed structure, and the future we are talking about the virtual reality technologies and how it can help. And as I say that these are also acceptable, and people are exploring the different ways of doing that. And a very interesting thing in that this you see in this case that there is Hiro Yamagata, who is Japanese, is trying to find that how the statues can be recreated through a laser light and can, rather than really reconstructing. So, as I say, the technology can help to reinterpret a lot of things, and we are exploring more and more the use of virtual reality, virtual technology, or by actually the reconstruction process, or sort of putting the images so that people can understand what it was there. Also, another thing we must understand that, like, is the Bamiyan Cultural Center competition is there, international competition. So, they are now talking about. So, let us see from where, how we go there. So, recently 117 countries participated in this international competition to build something there, an interpretation center to for the future generation to see that what has happened. And other very interesting thing, as you can see that in one of the concept from the museum there is a vista. So, they can see that hollow structure, and they will talk about that. So, this is again various ways how, and it all comes under conservation. So, from the conflict again with the new technologies, new interpretation, new thoughts and new philosophy, we are going and trying to overcome that what is happening to our ancient cultural heritage. Another example, I must, I mean, I have talked about a lot of this, is the Mostar Bridge. It happened in the, it was a 1670 bridge, and due to a bitter fighting, it was destroyed. As you can see that this was the old bridge, and this is in November, 9th November 1993. This was damaged due to the war, it was destroyed, and this is after the war, there was nothing there. Now, it is a World Heritage Site now, it has been reconstructed, and while reconstructing, so it is a totally new one. But again, why it is a World Heritage Site? Because this reconstruction is a symbolic healing of the division between the communities which are part of that settlement and that area. So, it is becoming a symbolic to the healing process of this community after the war. So, that single arch masonry bridge and related structures were rebuilt using the original methods and materials, and it has, so as I say, it's a reconstruction, but it is actually a symbolic value. So, that going back to the original material others. So, if you talk about the Bamiyan Buddha, if you talk about the Mostar Bridge, they are all World Heritage Sites, but they are all trying to reinterpret and continue the past and accepting the present, what is happening, which is unfortunate, and going to the future using sometimes the traditional materials and method and sometimes the modern technology. Each and every case is different depending on what is the thought process behind that and what the community is trying to talk about that. So, these are some of the causes of the man-made causes which cause damage to the heritage structures to the different degree. So, we have seen the damages, the process of decay either due to the natural causes or the man-made causes. We have some sort of a brief idea about that. Now, what will happen is that once we have a good idea about this, now the next stage is that how to document a historic structure. So, in our next lecture, we will talk about how to document a historic structures. Thank you.